Hello everyone, this is Ian, doing this for the fourth time now. Welcome to What Happens to Pokemon and the Competitive Ultra Beast Association Season 3 Draft Analysis for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a Pokemon Draft League, obviously. That is a free draft that allowed certain Ubers and usual banned Pokemon in as S-tier Pokemon, and is one of the more interesting drafts that I have probably ever drafted, just because the free draft system allowed for people to get a lot, and I do mean a lot, of broken shit. Like, incredibly broken stuff. Like, Tabulele was allowed, Mega Mawile was allowed, both of the Mega Lotties were allowed, Speed Boost Blaziken was allowed, Genesect. And we're going to get to what I ended up picking up, since I actually ended up getting second pick overall in the draft. Meaning that since first round were dedicated to S tiers, I was guaranteed to get something incredibly good right off the bat. Magearna went pick 1. Now this is Magearna with all the fillings. You're allowed to bring Z moves. You're allowed to do whatever the hell you want with Magearna. That's fine. I wasn't interested at all. I've used Magearna before. I don't like it. I personally am not very good with it. I've seen people destroy leagues with it. Maybe I just need more practice. I don't know. I hate using Magearna. I can never figure out what the right set is. Sometimes I just don't like a Pokemon that can run too many sets. Like, if a Pokemon can do like 5,000 different things and they're all good, it's hard for me to figure out what is the best set to bring that week. Like, I'll bring Assault Vest, and then I'll be like, I should have brought Shift Gear. I'll bring Trick Room. I should have brought Physically Defensive. Like, just for examples, like something like that. It's just always the wrong set. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just the wrong set every time I bring it. I've seen people lose games because they are like, I should have brought this type of Magearna. But enough about Magearna. I just don't like it. He can have it. I knew what I wanted. It was between this and I think Megalodios. I ended up picking Mr. I have no switch-ins myself, Doomfist, the Mega Metagross. Base 145 attack. Base 110 speed. Tough Claws. Basically every attack this thing fires off gets Tough Claws boosted on top of base 145 attack and with a really good speed tier. This Pokemon can wreck shop. It can manhandle drafts with offensive pressure, usually on its own. And, like, it has crazy good bulk. Like, base 80 HP, whatever. Base 150 defense and 110 Spadef. It is very hard to OHKO this thing. And so, Mega Metagross is almost guaranteed to always get at least one hit off, and it can usually OHKO to a KO everything. Just with one hit, it gets all the coverage it needs. It gets the elemental punches, except from Fire Punch, I think. But Steel types aren't really going to be a good switch into this thing either, because it does get access to Earthquake, and it's just not a fun time finding switch-ins to this thing. It is the perfect broken mon to want to complement my draft, and I couldn't be happier getting this thing. I know that I sniped at least someone with this. If I didn't get Mega Metagross, I knew that I would then I knew I was going to lose when I fought it, because no one ever wants to fight this thing. So, I'd rather be the one using it than the one fighting it. Next up, to complement that, considering I was second pick for S tiers, that means I was second last for first round coming back. There were a couple Pokemon that I wanted. I wanted Zeraora, and I wanted Tapu Bulu. Both of them got taken before they got back to me. I was going to grab one of them. Ultimately, I wanted the two Pokemon that I was going to prioritize would have been Tapu Bulu and Tornadus T, Farah. Because ultimately, Bulu, I think, would have been more necessary to, like, with the overall draft that I wanted. Just because grassy terrain really does complement Mega Metagross very well. It makes it so that ground type attacks do practically nothing to it. And it just makes it that much harder to kill and that much harder to fight when you can't even really revenge kill it with Earthquake. But I didn't get Bulu. That was a heartbreaker, and that's fine. I wanted Zeraora to have a fast form of momentum. That got taken as well. But that's okay. I had a bunch of different electric types in store. So I ended up getting Farah. Base 121 speed, very fast, it can also be pretty hard to switch in sometimes, especially with Stab Hurricane. Sorry, taking a drink. Coming off of a base 110 special attack stat, especially since this thing can easily run Life Orb because of Regenerator, it stops itself from getting chipped down by Life Orb. It's one of the few Pokemon that can utilize, like, Regenerator to run certain items. Like, it can run Assault Vest. Like, obviously other Regenerator Pokemon can run Assault Vest, like Tangrowth, of course, Slowbro, and I've even seen people use Reuniclus like that. But with Pokemon like that the Pokemon that get reliable recovery, I'm not sure why you would use it on Pokemon like Amoonguss, Reuniclus, Slowbro, those types of things. With Tornadus, it can use Assault Vest incredibly well, especially because it has such good coverage options that having 4 moves to attack with, usually it can hit pretty much everything neutrally to super effectively with something. It's got great coverage, it's got great speed, it's got good stats, it gives me a ground immunity. It pairs pretty well with Mega Metagross in that respect. Now, I just want a way to reliably get rid of Steel types so I don't need to run that Earthquake on Mega Metagross, that I can just run whatever I need to without needing to run those extra coverage moves to take care of Steel types. And that's where Ash the Infernape comes in. Another very fast, very scary offensive threat. This gives me my first Stealth Rocker. Not saying I'm going to run Stealth Rocks on Infernape all the time, but it's an option now. It gives me a physically and specially offensive threat. It gives me a very solid fire type, a very solid fighting type that I can get right off the bat. And like I said, because the 2 Pokemon I was going to draft alongside Tornadus got taken, Infernape was my plan B, basically. So I grabbed Infernape. I grabbed the Pokemon that I was the most scared wouldn't make it back to me. So with this, I start establishing my Fire, Water, Grass core on a very offensive note. And it does give me a Fire type switch in. It's not the best fire type switch in, but it is a fire type switch in. Like, it has decent bulk. Like, it's not gonna be super reliably taking hits, but it can take a hit or two if necessary. Great Scarf user, great Banded user, great setup. It's basically, it can basically do everything. You know what Infernape does. It's one of the best Pokemon in Draft, at least when it comes to offense, I'd like to say. So now I want to pick up a reliable form of Stealth Rocks. I want to pick up a T-Spiker, which, imagine trying to switch into Metagross with T-Spikes up. That's horrible. And I wanted a solid ground type, so I grabbed Nidoqueen. Anna the Nidoqueen. By the way, if you can't tell, these are Overwatch names. I mean, it was pretty obvious by the title. It was pretty obvious by the thumbnail. So I got Nidoqueen. I've recently picked up Nidoqueen in another draft that I'm using at the same time as I'm using this one. So I really hope that doesn't mess me up. But Nidoqueen I just think fits really well on this team too. Its psychic weakness is patched up by Mega Metagross, which 4 times resists psychic. The ice type weakness also patched up by Mega Metagross. I feel like Nidoqueen is going to be a very helpful utility in making sure that Pokemon have just a harder time dealing with Mega Metagross. It helps deal with Steel types. It helps deal with by wearing down Pokemon with Toxic Spike. It's just also another hard hitter to have to switch in to at this point. Like, my first 4 Pokemon, my first 5 when you see this, my Pokemon all have pretty high base attack stats, so even if I want to run them bulky, it's going to be hard to switch into my team. I don't think any of my Pokemon are passive. I don't think any of my Pokemon truly leave me prone to just losing to a setup sweeper, which is something that I hate on some of my teams. I feel like I don't draft enough offense, but here, everything is going to be doing damage on this draft, and basically the entire goal of this draft is just to draft Pokemon that can get damage for Mega Metagross to kill everything. I want Mega Metagross to be the kill leader on my team by a pretty large margin. Knowing me, I'm going to end up running Stall or something. I'm going to end up running something really bad. But yeah, so that's Anna the Nidoqueen. She's going to be great. Again, you look at the stats and you're just what's so great about Nidoqueen? Then you take into account Sheer Force Life Orb. I'm just going to say the thing everyone says about it, just to be why is Nidoqueen so good? There, that's why Nidoqueen's good. Sheer Force. Also, pretty good typing. So, I grabbed a Azumarill. I got a Azumarill round 5. I wanted a good fire resist. I wanted a fairy type, and I wanted a water type. Azumarill fit all 3 of those. Azumarill was still around. I decided to grab it. That's pretty much it. You know what Azumarill can do. It has a really solid base HP stat and base 80 in the defenses, so it can be a pretty bulky Pokemon. Very hard to switch into with huge power. It could potentially be a trapping set. It could be a very scary setup sweeper with Belly Drum. It's it's a Azumarill. You know what it does. It's scary. It's gonna hurt. It's providing support for Mega Metagross in sponging the fire type attacks. Azumarill. Just Azumarill. It was around round 5. There were other water types I could have taken, and other water types I was even looking at, like Milotic. Though I think Milotic actually got taken before me, so that kind of just made the decision that much easier. So, yeah, Azumarill. I'm sorry I don't really have much to say about Azumarill. With most of these Pokemon, I've at least used them somewhat before. Azumarill, I have never used Azumarill before, so I don't know what it does. I know what it does, I've just never done them before. I don't even think I've ever used Azumarill in Showdown. I am a complete virgin when it comes to using Azumarill, so I just hope things go well. By the way, it's named Symmetra because it was really trash in the beginning, and then it got reworked, and now it's godly. I just thought that would be clever. It got reworked twice. It got reworked, and then it got huge power, and then with the addition of Z moves, it had access to Z belly drum, so it just consistently got better. As the generations went through. So that's why it's Symmetra. Now we got Widowmaker, because sex appeal. That's about it. I wanted a grass type. I wanted Rapid Spin, because I didn't want to have to get rid of my own hazards if I wanted to, if I did want hazard removal. I think at this point, actually, now that I look at it, I think my only hazard removal is Tornadus Therian and Serena, which can be an issue, potentially. Maybe. I don't know. I'm usually don't draft a lot of hazard removal anyway. I'm gonna be honest here, I usually play with rocks up on my side, because I don't usually value rocks that much unless a matchup specifically requires it. I don't usually get rocks up or worry about that extra 12% unless it is drastically important in stopping 2-hit KOs. Or unless my opponent has vicious hazard stack with Spike, Toxic Spike, Stealth Rock. Usually I can deal with hazards, and usually I can deal with not having hazards on my opponent's sides. But it is always good to have a form of hazard removal. Serena also gives me another form of momentum. Most of my Pokemon have some way of getting momentum into some of my bigger threats. And Serena can be a big threat herself. I mean, base 120 attack is nothing to sneeze at. So, yeah, that's Serena. Gives me a very solid ground type check. I was hoping this would have been a Tapu Bulu, but it's not. The fact that I was expecting Tapu Bulu to make it back to me. I guess I was. I feel like it needs to be, you need to, know that your draft is going to be based around Tapu Bulu to want to grab it round 1. I thought that was going to make it to round 2, honestly. Just in a free draft where you can draft anything and not have to worry about points. I didn't think Tapu Bulu was going to go round 1. I was wrong. So, that's fine. I took a very casual approach to this because, I'm going to be taking this very seriously. I'm still going to be, trying to win every single week. But I just drafted a lot of Pokemon that, okay, they go well together, and they're fun. If a Pokemon that I took that I wanted got sniped, I didn't really rage about it just because I'm like, okay, I can use this mon instead. Because I usually had backups. The one thing I did get upset about is like every time I wanted an electric type, it got taken. Like I was going to take Jolteon the round I picked up Serena, but Snivy, who I'm still not entirely certain, didn't ask me for that. I'm not entirely certain because I told him I wanted Jolteon when he was saving a pick for me, that he didn't take Jolteon the round and was coming back to me just to make sure he got it. Because that just kind of like made me a bit mad. I doubt that he did that just because that's kind of scummy to like take the fact that I was like bestowing picks upon you in confidence and then just pick up Jolteon. Like if he really wanted Jolteon and he was going to get it regardless, that's fine. I don't even know why I'm talking about this. I'm not really salty about it. It was just something that got me mad for like 5 minutes maybe. I don't really care at this point because I think my draft turned out pretty decently, so it's whatever. Anyway, Kyurem. I wanted a dragon type. And my god, this thing functions as a pretty good dragon type in my opinion. Like, Ice and Dragon are two very hard things to switch into, as you know from Kyurem Black. And while this isn't a Kyurem Black, it does fire off stronger Ice Beams. And it can have some mixed attacking prowess, but usually not. It usually runs a certain types of set, has very solid bulk, has reliable recovery. Yeah, that's basically it. Solid bulk, reliable recovery, very hard stab to switch into. Very solid special attacker. In fact, I think it's my hardest hitting special attacker. Huh. Anyway, my next pick I got purely out of value. The fact that it was still around. I'm not sure how well it functions on my draft, but considering like I have Tornadus T to switch into fighting type attacks, as I have Nidoqueen, as I have Azumarill, I decided to pick up Snorlax, Roadhog the Snorlax, because this thing never freaking dies. Roadhog is so annoying to go up against, my god. I love this thing. I love using this thing. I love Roadhog too. Very solid base stats. Base 160 HP means that this thing can basically be designed to take on whatever Pokemon it needs to. Mega Metagross, while it may be bulky, I don't want it to have to take every hit. And Snorlax just gives me a general sponge that's like, okay, I hate dealing with this Pokemon. As long as it's not like a strong fighting type, Snorlax can probably take it on. It has great coverage because it's a normal type. Very scary setup sweeper. Like, if you're not prepared for the curse set, whether it be Curse Talk or Curse Recycle Berry, it can just win. Like, it can just straight up win. Stop. It could just straight up win. Like I said, great coverage. 65 special attack can give it some mixed attacking options. And base 110 attack with all the coverage it gets means that it can pretty much reliably hit anything it needs to reliably hit. The only thing that downfalls it is, of course, its speed, but you're not picking up Snorlax if you need speed. Let's be honest here. And its bulk more than makes up for its lack of speed. I love this thing. It's probably my favorite Generation 1 Pokemon. So, yeah, this one just has a bit of sentimental value. Next up, I decided to pick up my Dark type. That is Sombra the Zoroark. Gives me more speed. Most of my Pokemon are... Like, I have a couple pretty solid fast Pokemon. I don't have anything that's super duper fast. until my next pick. But it gives me speed control. I have quite a couple Pokemon that can outspeed basically those base 100s. I have options for everything up to base 120 basically with Tornadus. Mega Metagross is really fast, and Infernape is really fast, and now I got Zoroark. A lot of my Pokemon can abuse those base 100s, and Zoroark gives me illusion mind games with Pokemon like Mega Metagross. Like, if you're going to be playing the switching game to try and mess around with Mega Metagross, like, you're going to need, like, your dedicated counter to Mega Metagross is probably something that can't handle Zoroark very well. Like, if it's a Steel type, Zoroark gets Flamethrower, and most Steel types usually don't want to switch into Dark Stab. If it's a bulky Psychic type, Dark Stab. If it's basically Zoroark, another Pokemon that very well complements Mega Metagross. Very frail, but again, you're not picking up Zoroark for bulk. Has very good mixed attacking stats. Great Scarfer, great Revenge Killer, and of course the Mind Games are all why Zoroark is an amazing Pokemon. Next up, here's my super fast Pokemon. Here's my speed tier. Here's my speed gap Pokemon. I usually end up drafting with a speed gap because I usually want to grab that one super fast Pokemon. That's Genji. That's the Aselgor. Base 145 speed. Another Toxic Spike Setter. Another Spike Setter. Very fast. Momentum with Stab U-Turn. Base 70 attack, I know, but still Stab U-Turn. And base 100 special attack is nothing to sneeze at. It helps deal with super fast Pokemon, and again, giving me spike support. Like, try switching into Mega Metagross with spikes up, with Toxic Spikes up, with Stealth Rock up, potentially all three. Like, you're not gonna have a fun time. That Pokemon I'm just expecting and hoping that Pokemon just bends over backwards a lot of drafts. Like, I know a lot of Pokemon I know a lot of teams have, that's what I'm trying to say, really broken Pokemon themselves, but Mega Metagross, I personally think is one of the best broken Pokemon out of the bunch. And I'm really hoping that Pokemon is not necessarily going to carry the team, because I think the team can function like well on its own with Mega Metagross as the hard-hitting staple. But yeah, this team is just meant to support Mega Metagross so that it can just break everything at the end. And finally off, here is the electric type that I wanted. And I named it fittingly after my least favorite hero in Overwatch. Because it sucks. Literally. It's an eel. It's Electros. Moira. The Electros. God, I hate Moira. This thing has really solid attacking stats. And really solid bulk. It's just not what I wanted out of my electric type. Ultimately, I feel like it could be more useful to have a bulky sponge and a slow Volt turn into something like Mega Metagross, so I'm not forced to take damage. But I really wanted to use one of the faster electric types, so I can't say this wasn't a disappointment. But I may have to actually thank the people that sniped me, because again, Electros may work out better. We'll see. Access to Volt Switch and U-Turn. Very good coverage options and basically every coverage move under the sun. Knock off. Superpower. Drain Punch. Sludge. Does it get Sludge Bomb? No, it gets Acid Spray. Giga Drain. Flamethrower. I think it gets Ice Punch. It gets basically everything it needs. And, U-Turn and Volt Switch. it's going to be a bit of a nuisance. And again, slow turn isn't always a bad thing. So here we go. Z-move users, Tornadus, Infernape, and Zoroark. I was thinking of making a Zoomeril Z just for Z Belly Drum, but ultimately I decided against it. I can change it later if I want to, but as I usually use my Z moves offensively, I don't ever see myself bringing a Z stat. I didn't really see myself bringing a Z status move on a Zoomeril over a potentially offensive Z move on Infernape or Tornadus. So that is why I have them, and that's the team. Overall, I think they synergize pretty well together. I think I have a very scary offensive core in Tornadus, Mega Metagross, and Infernape, while also needing to switch into things like Azumarill, like Serena, like Nidoqueen, like Kyurem, like Zoroark, and also needing to deal with my bulky threats like Snorlax, like like Kyurem, like Azumarill. Like, it has a defensive backbone to rely upon, while also having very good offensive presence. I I truly think that that this team is going to put in work, and it's going to be very fun. And I'm just happy to have gotten Mega Metagross. Like, again, look at that thing. Meteor strikes are coming, my friends. Meteor strikes are coming.